Hey everybody, thanks for joining. We're doing another little mini fireside. So I'm Christian Brucculeri, the SVP of Sales and Customer Success at Quiq. I'm here with Mike Myer, the CEO and founder. We've been doing these small chats about, to bring some information to the market about how LLM-powered artificial intelligence is going to work and change the contact center and customer service. And today we're going to talk a little bit about risks. So Mike, maybe to start out, we can identify what are the risks and limitations with LLM-based AI. People hear terms like hallucinations and data leakage and data recency and prompt hacking. Like maybe we can kind of organize these for the audience and help them understand what categories of risk they should be thinking about.
Sure. So when I think about risks and limitations associated with LLMs, it's probably three broad categories. The first one is accuracy, making sure the LLM is returning the right stuff to the customer or the agent. The second one is data security, making sure that in the use of the LLM, nothing leaks through and your company data is secure and private. And then the last one is a little bit about the brand voice and brand safety, and how do I ensure that the LLM is kind of on point for the image that I want my brand to be portrayed at. So those are the three categories. I might break the first category apart a little bit to explain what we mean by accuracy. And if you think about accuracy can happen in a couple of different ways. The first broad category is like, it's just like tells a lie. The second broad category is it doesn't know. Right. And so the first category tells a lie. Well, that happens through hallucination. And I think at this point, a lot of people have heard this term. Hallucination technically is when the AI says something that just isn't a fact that it was trained from. So in other words, it had one set of information and it had another set of information, and that those two sets of information, those facts, appeared to be similar, and it concluded that they're related, and it made a statement that was not actually factually correct based upon the information, but it inferred. And so the way I think about this is, we all have grandparents, and if you sat down with your grandpa and he told you a story and your grandma said, that's not what happened. And in your grandfather's memory, that was exactly what happened, because like his memory was a little cloudy and the facts have kind of gotten interwoven over the years. And to a certain extent, that's kind of what happens with the LLM and hallucination. And so we're just a little bit meaner because we say the hallucination is attributed to the AI, but your grandfather, his memory is just a little cloudy. So just embellishes a little bit every now and then. So we're a little nicer, but it's the same effect. So that's one category. Hallucination, it's just wrong. It's a lie. It's remembering incorrectly. Another category is the LLM doesn't know. And so current generation LLMs were trained on data starting in 2021. And so anything that happened since then, the additional data needs to be fed into the system. It's not part of the core data training set. And of course, from a business standpoint, data that's inside your firewall that never existed on the internet, was never able to be trained on, that data has to be brought into the LLM to answer many questions that occur inside of a customer service arena. So all those accuracy concerns have to be overcome in a good corporate implementation.
Yep, that makes sense. How about so that kind of covers on the accuracy issue, but that hallucination thing sounds like me and my wife debating where I put my car keys. Let's talk about data security a little bit. But so a lot of people are worried, look, if I use this thing, my data is going to leak out into the overall internet. It's going to get sucked up by ChatGPT and my competitors are going to be able to use it. Like, talk a little bit about how people can think about constraining LLMs to contain their proprietary confidential data within the environments that they think are safe or that they feel are safe.
Yeah, I think we have to separate kind of the consumer use of ChatGPT, which is free, and it's been exposed for the purposes of collecting data so it can be trained, from corporate usage, which is paid usage of an underlying large language model, whether it be provided by OpenAI or Microsoft Azure, in a paid arrangement, and Quiq has these arrangements. Our usage of the LLM is under a commercial agreement that provides that the data that we're providing to the LLM is only going to be used for our purposes. So things like SOC 2 and data privacy, like that applies because we're paying to use the service, and as part of the payment, the receiving side is going to protect the data just like they would do their own confidential information, and they would only use it for our purposes. And so it's not a good idea to put any corporate proprietary information into ChatGPT. The same concerns don't exist in a commercial relationship with a vendor like Quiq, or if you have direct access through an API, because the APIs are not going to use your data inside of training sets. So, with the appropriate agreements in place, it's totally safe to use corporate data inside of a large language model.
Got it. Okay. So it's mostly a business development issue and not a technical issue. Okay, great.
100%. Yep.
Let's talk quickly about brand voice, brand tone, and brand safety as it relates to these. How safe are these to put in front of your customers, not just from like an accuracy standpoint, but just in the sense that like you have a brand and that brand has a voice, and you want to make sure that it's consistent with all the other touch points that you have with your customers.
Yeah, good question. The fact of the matter is a language model generates language, and the way it generates language can be in a particular tone. So you can actually provide instructions to the language model to be like curt and formal, or easygoing and friendly. And so different brands have different tones and brand personas that they want to portray. And so how do you make sure that your interactions inside of an AI experience have the company's brand and not the bank's brand? Like if you're a clothing company, your brand is different than a bank, for instance. And so there are techniques to coach the large language model, the type of tone that you want to have. And then there are techniques also to ensure that the language model doesn't get off of your particular tone and brand. And so this particular concept, language models are trained through prompts, and prompt hacking is a phrase which refers to like, well, let me get the language model to say something that it shouldn't do. Right. And so all the categories of stuff that we've talked about earlier, like accuracy and bringing your corporate information into the language model, those are all things that working with a vendor like Quiq provides, because we've developed techniques that essentially provide guardrails for the language model to keep it from kind of going off brand or getting out of your data. We also have techniques that allow us to insert your internal system data into the language model to answer questions that are specific to a particular customer, like what's my account balance? And so those techniques are a combination of underlying technologies like guardrails and prompt engineering and prompt chaining. And that's kind of the value that we add in addition to analytics and a bunch of other stuff. But in terms of the risks and limitations, our role in the world is to overcome those risks and limitations and kind of, if you want to call it, tune or constrain, or we're basically making the large language model appropriate for business usage, because by itself the large language model isn't appropriate, but we can put a bunch of stuff around it that makes it appropriate, and that's our secret sauce.
Cool. Well, that's great. I think that's all we have for time for busy executives, but thank you guys for joining. Just to wrap that up, as you're thinking about risks as it relates to LLM powered AI technology, think about accuracy and precision, think about data security, and think about brand voice. And we'll see you on the next video.